You guys, this episode today is going to save you so much money on Facebook ads. And if you've been wanting to run Facebook ads or thinking about running Facebook ads, but the idea of budgeting for that seemed a little bit daunting, we're going to be talking to Jenzaia DiMartile, who runs Facebook ads for teacher entrepreneurs. And she's an expert in all things, well, Facebook ads. And she's going to be sharing about Tripwire ads, which are kind of a sneaky little way to help offset the cost of your Facebook ads. And if you're like, Facebook ads, I'm not really sure that this is going to be my thing, hang on and listen, because this Tripwire ad that we're talking about today, you can use it for things that aren't even Facebook ads. You can use this just for your general lead magnets that you have for your business to help you bring in a little bit more revenue. Let's go ahead and let's dive in because I want to get started. This is such a fun episode. I want you to meet Jenzaia. Hey, Jenzaia, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so excited for our conversation. I'm so excited to have you back. So tell everybody a little bit about you because you were here way back. I don't know, at some point last year. I'm not sure when. Catch us up because we're kind of taking a deep dive into some really fun Facebook ads / email marketing strategies today. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm in Ontario, Canada. So I'm a Canadian and I have two littles. They are 2 and my son will be 3 in like a couple of weeks. So that's pretty exciting. And over the past year, I have kind of expanded a little bit in my business and now do a lot more holistic marketing. And so I feel like what we're about to talk about kind of falls under that, like you said. And so just from very, very focused on Facebook ads, which I still do and I still love, but just expanding to the whole picture because of the change in the online culture, I think is a big part of it. And there used to be the ability to focus really like high level on one piece of your marketing strategy and go all in. And now relationships have just become so much more important. And I think that having the more holistic approach to marketing is much healthier and a more authentic and sustainable approach to your marketing. And so, yeah, that's the biggest shift I would say. So I'm still doing Facebook ads, still love it, but then also more of those other pieces.
So I'm in your, I don't know if it's what you call it, a course or a coaching program. What would you, kind of a hybrid, both?
Hybrid. Yeah, I use the word hybrid group coaching DIY course program.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to call it.
But it's really, really neat. And it's called Dreamlist Essentials. And I signed up for it kind of on a whim because I do want to learn more about Facebook ads. And I have really enjoyed it so far. But one of the things that I love about it is you have these, and this is not an ad for Jenzaia's course, although you certainly we'll put a link down in the description for it because it really is amazing. But I showed up to one of the coaching calls. There's like a coaching call every week. They kind of show up and kind of walks you through like one section, one piece of the puzzle at a time. And there was a conversation that took place within that coaching call that I was like, you know what? I would love for Jenzaia to come on the podcast and talk about this because it's simple. It's so simple. And that's Tripwire ads. Can you start us off and just talk about what is a Tripwire ad? Because I know you can go in so many different directions with them, but just like basic what a Tripwire ad is.
So they're also called tiny offers, self-liquidating funnels, or a slow funnel, because self-liquidating offer, the acronym, it took me a really long time to understand that. And so basically the idea of it is to put a small offer or like a tiny offer, a low cost offer on the back end of a freebie. And so they opt in to your free offer, PDF checklist, a video training, whatever it might be. And then instead of saying that like standard, thank you, go check your inbox, instead of seeing that page, they see a sales page. And then it's that offer for some sort of paid thing that's typically and highly recommended to be related to your free offer. And so what's really great about them is that you're making a little bit of money as you're building your list. In about 99.9% of cases, you're not going to be building a business off of that small offer. It's designed to offset the costs of the list building ads. But you don't need to be running ads to have a Tripwire also. You could be organically promoting your freebie using Pinterest, social media, blogs, or podcasts, whatever it might be. So the way you're going about growing your email list doesn't have to be paid, but they were created to offset the cost of those list building ads.
Yeah. So this is basically like this conversation today, this whole conversation we're having applies to anyone. If they're doing any kind of email marketing, if any type of list building, whether that's organic or paid traffic, but for sure, this is really appealing to somebody who's running paid ads because they're paying for those leads. And so, like you said, it kind of helps offset that cost. Mm-hmm. So an example, can you give us an example of this as it would relate to a Teachers Pay Teachers product?
For sure. Before I do that though, I do want to say it is a bit more of an advanced technique. I don't want somebody who's listening to this, who's never created a lead magnet, never put up a freebie, to feel the pressure to get a Tripwire up and running. I would say that most of my clients who are running Tripwires didn't start that Tripwire until their freebie was successful and they had a bigger offer on the back end. So a course or a membership. I've never seen it done with a product line, but there's no reason you couldn't do it with like a full size product line or a really big year-long bundle, that kind of piece. Because like I said, it's not really a money maker, the Tripwire itself. So you want something else on the back end that you're upselling into at some point. So having that freebie first, the bigger offer, and then you can start to look at more advanced techniques like including a Tripwire. I don't want anyone to feel pressure. Like you have to do this right away. Please no.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because if this is paid traffic, then for most people, the person is cold coming in, like they're running these to cold audiences. And with the idea of, okay, before I try to sell them on this really big thing further on down and say my email sales funnel, then I'm going to try to sell them on this smaller thing. So an example of that would be kind of like what you just said with a product line, a full-on product line, like a big year-long bundle or something like that. This would be maybe enticing them with a portion of a unit for that freebie, and then trying with the Tripwire, once they opt in to get the lesson with the homework and the bell ringer and the exit ticket and the activity, then I try to upsell them on that Tripwire on the thank you page. I try to upsell them to buy the unit. And then later on through my email sales funnel, I'm trying to sell them on the whole curriculum. Would that be an example?
That's a really great example, having that free sample of some sort. And you want it to be something that people would be willing to pay for. And I don't think you need to have a freebie library, but your freebie does need to be money worthy, because it's part of how you're selling yourself to people. It's part of the sales process and showing people what kind of quality that you put out there, how amazing your work is. And if your freebie is this good, how amazing are your paid offers, right?
Right.
And so having that first portion available for free, whether it's a week or it's an entire month or it's the letter A or whatever it might be, all of those are great examples. And then the Tripwire could be, like all the vowels, right? So it's a portion, or like what you were saying is you get the reading part of the activity, but then you pay for the bell ringers and the digital version of one unit, as long as they're related. It's really important that they're related. You wouldn't want to have like doubles edition and then the Tripwire be vowels. Those are completely unrelated. Now, I know there's going to be people, I'm sure, like, Jenzaia, this is how those two are related, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure. But in general, you would want like the doubles and then something related to very like exactly related, because it needs to be an easy yes.
Okay.
And so you also need to think about the price of this when it comes to that easy yes. What's your niche? I've seen the Tripwires be as inexpensive as $7, and I've seen them as expensive as $97. So really taking into consideration what's an easy yes for your audience, because again, I'm going to say this 1,000 times, I'm sure, but it's not a money maker. Your goal isn't to make money for this. It's continuing people saying yes to you. The more time someone says yes, those micro commitments, yes, I'll give you my email address. Yes, I'll give you $7. Yes, I'll read your email. Yes, the more likely they are to say, yes, I'll buy your year-long $300 curriculum bundle or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah, I love that. And one of the other things that you had mentioned, and I don't want to get us too far off topic here, but you actually brought this up in the call when I was telling you I've got this webinar that converts really well, which is a free webinar. So it's actually a free item, but it converts really well. But for paid advertising, it's not performing very well because of the time commitment over a download. And so one of the things that you had mentioned to me was, why don't you make that your tripwire? So
Yes.
you get them to commit to the free download, which is really easy. You know, that was costing me less than 30 cents a lead. And then once they commit to that free download, then the tripwire is to get them to commit to spending time with you on that webinar, which I thought was really smart too, because I don't want to spend, $3 to get somebody to watch my webinar. I don't want to do that. That's not worth it. But if I can spend 30 cents to get somebody on my email list, and maybe they'll go ahead and watch that webinar, which is high converting, has a high converting sales funnel after it, then that's worth it for me because I'm not spending any more money to get them to do that thing.
And that's what I was going to say. If it's costing $3 for them to sign up for the webinar and watch it, or it's 30 cents for them to sign up for your freebie, if you get 10 people at 30 cents and only one of them watches the webinar, that's the same cost. But in the first scenario where you're just going directly to the webinar, the 9 other people are just gone. But in the second scenario where they do the freebie first and then are shown the webinar, you've captured those people's email addresses. And so you can continue to market to them through your email list. And so you're not losing those 9 people, and it may be costing you the same amount to get someone to watch your webinar, but there's additional people on your email list, which is like a really great return, because your email list is one of the most important assets you have in your business. As long as you're emailing them regularly, selling to them regularly, nurturing them, all of those pieces, because maybe just one of the 10 people is going to watch the webinar now. But then in 6 months, those other 9 people have been opening your emails and they've been following you. They're listening to your podcast, and you push out the webinar to your whole list again, or maybe you do it live or something. And maybe 5 of those 9 who didn't watch it initially now do watch it, right? Because they needed that warming up. They needed an extended period of time to get to know you, to trust you. And so, your tripwire doesn't necessarily need to be something paid. And in fact, I highly recommend that on the thank you page, if you're not selling something, that you do have a next step of some sort. Whether it's join the Facebook group, or follow me on social media, or book an appointment to chat, or the free video training, or a tripwire, because again, that people in momentum continue in momentum. Every time they say yes to you, you want to just continue the journey and make it as easy and seamless as possible. So just adding a button of some sort on your thank you page is something that pretty much everyone can do today.
And I think that it was you that said it. They're never more warm than when they just gave you their email address.
Yes.
They may have been cold when you got them, but they are very warm right now because they're very interested in what you have, or they're very interested in you at that moment.
Absolutely.
So even like what you just said, just sending them to your Facebook group, or sending them even, would you think that it would be worth it to say, go ahead and go follow my TPT store, and putting that follow link on there? Would that be a good thing to put there?
Yes, absolutely. Depending on what your ultimate goal is, right? If you're working on building your Facebook group, then sending them there, and if you're active in the Facebook group, you're doing lives or whatever it might be, right? Or if on your TPT store, you're active in sending notes out, or whatever the freebie was relates really closely to your TPT store, or maybe even sending them directly to a product related to, like, if you like this freebie, go see this paid version is another option. The follow my TPT store is great. Social media, again, is a great idea because then it's more nurture. One of mine says, listen to the podcast, and it sends them to my smart link where they can click Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whichever one of the ones that they listen to. All of those, as long as there's an action and it goes with your journey and what you want to get from people. Like if you have a dead Facebook group that you never posted, you never commented, to send people there does not make any sense, right?
Yeah.
And me to send people to my TPT store when I'm promoting my Facebook ads business, and my TPT store is primary French immersion math resources, doesn't make any sense. So you just have to pick whatever the next step is that makes the most sense for you. And it could be one thing today and in 6 months be something different. Or if you have 2 different opt-ins, it could be different for each of those opt-ins. So taking the time to think about what the customer journey is and picking the next best step is worth the 10 minutes that it'll take for sure.
I have a follow-up question for that in terms of like, is there a situation when maybe you shouldn't be using this Tripwire? So you talked about earlier that if you're brand new and you're just getting your landing page, you're just picking out your lead magnet and you're still trying to figure out what appeals to your audience and you're still kind of learning all of those things, then probably don't worry about a Tripwire. Don't stress yourself out about that. But is there a situation when you really don't want your audience or that person who just signed up when they're really warm to forget about that email that you sent them in their inbox? Is that a concern?
So no, there's never a time you want them to forget about you.
No, I mean like that maybe you would want to like nix the Tripwire and just be like, go check your email. Do you know what I mean? And be like, okay, I just want them to go check their email right now.
That's a really good question that I completely obviously misunderstood the first time. I don't think so. I feel like there's always like a next step.
Yeah.
Because I think most people are trained, at least at this point, to go to their email to get the freebie.
Okay.
Right. Maybe a couple of years ago, even 2 years ago, we may not have gone to our email. But now I think we're just trained that when we sign up for something, go to the email and you can go get it there. And I don't necessarily expect the freebie to pop up right away, right?
Yeah.
Like I do expect to have to go to my email and do that work to get it. And in a lot of cases, I even expect, and this actually might be the only case, is if you have double opt-in turned on. And so the person doesn't get the freebie right away. They have to go find that email that says, yes, I actually did opt in. I confirm my email address. So that if you have double opt-in turned on, you may want the action to be go to your inbox, walk through the steps that they need to. So yeah, that actually, great question, because I never really thought about that.
Yeah. But then even with the double opt-in, the Tripwire could still be shown after they've confirmed their email.
Yes.
Like, and they get that success message. Yeah. Okay. So here's kind of an email marketing question for you. This doesn't have anything to do necessarily with a Tripwire per se. I mean, it kind of does actually. Do you need a website in order to set up one of these Tripwires? Can you set something like this up, say in Flowdesk or ConvertKit or MailerLite?
So I don't have all of the answers there for you, but I use Flowdesk. So I know they recently put out or beta tested checkouts as an option. So you don't necessarily need a website, but you need some sort of checkout system. And so, like I said, Flowdesk has it. I'm not sure if ConvertKit or MailerLite have it.
ConvertKit has it. Okay. Of course, you can always send them to TPT. If you're a TPT seller and that's your goal, like you can always send them to TPT.
I wouldn't send them in that case. I wouldn't send them to like sign up and then default open the TPT listing. I wouldn't do that. You'd want a thank you page that says, love this freebie, go check out the full version. Because without that like intermediary step, they would be like, what happened? Like, I don't understand. There would be that gap there potentially. You need to connect the dots really clearly for people. And it's not because they're not intelligent. It's because we're busy. We're doing 1,000 different things. We have 10,000 tabs open. I sign up for this freebie. I know it's going to be in my email. I don't pay attention to the thank you page that popped up. It just becomes one of 47 tabs. And then 6 hours later, when I'm closing my computer down, I'm like, what's this TPT listing? But if it says, thank you for downloading this freebie, go check out the full product.
Right. And then there's like a button there or something that they can.
Yeah. And I have that refresh of, oh yeah, I signed up for that freebie. Then that makes sense. But if that's not there and there's just a TPT listing that I have no idea why it's there,
right,
I'm just going to close it and I won't think about it. You need to think through the steps as if someone is like completely lost and completely clueless, and not because they are, but because they're busy.
Yes. Yes. So we don't want to redirect automatically like to a TPT product as our thank you page. Like we don't want to do that.
Right.
But if you have the ability within your email marketing platform to create a thank you page with a button or with a link or something that they can click out to go to TPT, that's okay. Or you can create a checkout page, say in Flowdesk, or a checkout page in ConvertKit. Of course, the thing with both of those options is that you do have to deal with sales tax because they do not. So that's like the only, but if you're already selling on your own website or you're already dealing with sales tax, like you don't really have to worry about that.
And there are some programs, like I use Thrivecart, and I actually paid for the upgrade so that they would help deal with the sales tax piece.
Yeah.
Now I still am the one who has to like hold on to the money. They don't like remit it for me or anything. But if you enter your address as whatever address in Canada, then it automatically adds those sales tax for me. Like I'm not the one who's figuring it out or having to have, this is the Canadian checkout and this is, and I don't know if everyone does that or not, but I do know that Thrivecart has that option for me to turn it on. And Thrivecart, lead pages, there's tons of different options that you don't need a full website for.
No, you don't. You can even set up like a product page, I think, in Stripe.
Yeah.
And Stripe will collect for you. It's just doing some of the back work, which of course you're going to be at Teacher Seller Summit, which we'll talk about here in a second. But also we have some tax experts coming in. Rachel and Emily are going to be talking about determining nexus, like in what states you have nexus in and where to collect sales tax. And so for sure, you can get that information at Teacher Seller Summit, or you can go and you can kind of do your own research and determine where you should be collecting sales tax from. And if you're one of the lucky people who live in a state that you don't automatically have nexus, then you might be able to, you may be in a point in your business where you don't have to collect sales tax anywhere, and something like Flowdesk or ConvertKit's product would work really well. Okay, so we've talked about tripwires. We've talked about how you can set them up. It can be a paid or it can be a free resource, an additional free resource that you're sending them further down into your funnel. And this doesn't have to be Facebook ads. This can be organic traffic that you're using. Like it doesn't have to be offsetting the cost. It could literally just be additional money for you, additional revenue. And do you have any other pieces of advice for when it comes to how to pick what that Tripwire offer is going to be?
That's a good question. I always recommend people reverse engineer their customer journey or their funnel, whichever word you want to use for it. And by that, I mean starting with that big thing that you're selling. And if you have a course or a membership, that's your big thing. But if you're looking at TPT, a lot of people, their biggest product is $35, $80. That might not be big enough for this, but you don't want to do this for like a $10 product. You want it to be like 50 plus, because just the time and energy that goes into this. So you pick that big thing at the end, and then you work backwards. If someone's going to buy this big thing, what freebie would they need or would entice them or would whatever get them? How would I get the right people onto my email list, right? And so that will help you to determine the freebie, and then looking at what that freebie is and the big product, like we've been talking about, something, a middle step there, right? So whether it's you give a week, they buy a month, and then you upsell them to the entire year or whatever it might look like, but figuring out what that middle step is between the freebie and the paid, but definitely starting with the end in mind. Like, what are you selling? Because then it flows more seamlessly. It's a little bit harder if you start with the freebie and then you try to design the Tripwire and then you try to design the paid product in that order. Things start to get a little bit wonky and they don't match up quite as nicely. And that doesn't mean you need a different freebie for each offer that you have. And this is really important for TPT sellers because you likely have a couple different of these big bundles that you could do this for. You could try to figure out and find, depending on your store and depending on your products, find one freebie that works for all of them. And then depending on the time of year or what you want to promote or what's going on in your business, picking which of those products it leads to. So you don't need, and this is another reason why I'm saying it needs to be a bigger thing. You don't need to create, and I don't recommend that anyone creates a freebie for every single $3 product that they have out there. That's so much work, not worth it at all, right? Just doing this for those bigger product lines or bundles, however you have your business set up.
I love that. I love that you talked about that, like reverse engineering, because I do see people sometimes, and this isn't, and obviously I'm not a Facebook ads person, but I do see people choosing the wrong freebie. Like they have a product that they want to give away for free. And so they kind of start with, what can I create that I could give away? So they create something to give away, but then they're like, okay, now what do I sell them on? Because there's nothing in my TPT store that's anything like this free product that I'm offering. So I can imagine that could get even more muddy when you're introducing like a third step inside of that process. So I really appreciate that, walking backwards.
It also helps with like your content creation and the email sequence, because if you know what you're selling and you know what the freebie is, then you can start to have an idea of what emails you can create that will nurture the person, because you have to assume that most people are not going to immediately buy your year-long curriculum bundle. Let's just say like your big offer. So you can start to think about, okay, they got this week worth of free content. What do they need to hear from me? How can I nurture them? What kind of content can I create on my blog and in my emails that will take them from that free week to my full year-long bundle, right? And so not only does it help to make sure things are seamless, but it can give you a ton of content ideas, great email marketing that is designed specifically to take them through those steps of leading them on the journey that you want to take them. Whereas if you're doing it in reverse, or you're just kind of like all crazy all over the place, just like pulling things, then it can feel more disjointed and not have that clean journey that reverse engineering will help you create.
Jenzaia, you're going to be at the Teacher Seller Summit this summer, July 6th through 9th. Can you tell us a little bit about your presentation that you're going to be having?
Yeah, so I'm going to be diving into 3 different types of Facebook ads, which ones are my favorite, which ones I run most with my clients, and based on your budget, which ones I recommend that you have in your business and how you can scale your ads as your business grows so that you only start with the one type of ad and then you add in the other ones as you go.
I love it. I'm so excited for your session. And where can listeners find you if they want to connect with you? Because you have a lot of different resources for TPT sellers.
The absolute best place to find me is my podcast. It's called Market Scale Grow. We do Saturday strategy sessions every single week. And so, yeah, Market Scale Grow.
And then Jenzaia also has like Dream List Essentials, which we'll put the link to that down in the description as well. But you definitely want to come see her at Teacher Seller Summit and check out her podcast in the meantime, because it really is a great podcast. Thanks so much for being here. I was so excited to have you back a second time. You're always full of so much information. And I just thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. If you want to connect with Jenzaia and learn more about her course, Dream List Essentials, which I've personally taken and recommend, or if you want to connect with her on social media or via her podcast, you can find the links to all of that down inside of the description. You also don't want to miss her session at Teacher Seller Summit, where she's going to be talking you through 3 different types of Facebook ads that you can run and helping you decide what's going to be best for your business, talking about Facebook ads budgets and more. You don't want to miss it. You can get your ticket to Teacher Seller Summit through the link down inside of the description, and I hope to see you there. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe. I put out weekly content for teacher entrepreneurs, helping you grow your businesses in a way that's purposeful and sustainable. And I will see you in the next video.